The second you step onto that island, he owns you. I mean, how dumb do you have to be to involve yourself in this kind of thing and not realize that you have sold your soul and you have made a deal with the devil and you are going to be blackmailed and extorted? And of course, that's exactly what happened. Thanks for watching The Real Story, sponsored by Preserve Gold. Visit drphilgold.com. Unless you've been in a coma or under a rock for the last, I don't know how long, you've heard about Jeffrey Epstein. Probably to the point that you're sick to death of seeing this guy's mug and hearing about the disgusting content and behavior that surrounds him. It really is sick. We're talking about a guy that trafficked in young women, and I'm talking about a lot. We're talking about 14-year-old girls and all the things that wound him up in prison. And I'm going to talk about that today, but I'm going to talk about it from a different angle. Because as I've been reading and watching and hearing people talk about this, I often take a different view of some of these things, a different point of view. And one of the things that's jumped out at me is how in the world do you get what you have to assume are relatively intelligent people that are functioning in the world to get sucked into this debauchery, to get sucked into this immoral behavior? I mean, how dumb do you have to be to involve yourself in this kind of thing and not realize that when you do, that the second you step into that room, the second you get onto that airplane that they call the Lolita Express or whatever, the second you step onto that island where he functioned, he owns you because you have so much to lose for being so stupid to put yourself in that situation. You just can't not know that you have sold your soul and you have made a deal with the devil and you are going to be blackmailed and extorted. And of course, that's exactly what happened. The first keystroke you hit with this "Hey bro" email where you're talking about exploiting these innocent young girls, he owns you. We're talking about billionaires that are smart enough to put together innovative companies. Are they that morally bankrupt? Or are they just so arrogant that they think they can do whatever they want to do and never be held to account? Do they honestly think that they can go do what is nothing short of human trafficking and rape of young girls and get away with it? They're either incredibly dumb, amazingly entitled, or so arrogant and in such a bubble of privilege that they think they're just above it all. These are young girls that cannot give consent. Is this a cult of ego? Do they look around the room and say, well, that's a billionaire entrepreneur over there. That's a senator or an ex-president over there. So I guess I'm in the elite crowd here. So this is legitimized. Well, no, it's not legitimized. I think that one of the tools that he used was this transactional network where he got people around that were such societal big deals that they thought they were flying above everything. I've tried to think of what people could be saying to themselves to make this okay. Rape, pedophile behaviors, seemingly okay somehow. I thought about maybe these were people that were really smart in one area, Maybe these were nerd geeks that never got invited to parties when they were growing up. Maybe they were so awkward that they never got included in anything they thought was cool. And now all of a sudden, they're running with what they think are the cool kids, the fast crowd. Well, let me tell you, there's nothing cool or fast about raping young girls. You're dealing with a gatekeeper that is evil, that is the devil, and nothing legitimizes what you're doing to the point of you becoming untouchable, however rich or elite the crowd may be. You're not validated by acting like the abnormal is normal. I mean, this gatekeeper, you've got to be so naive to not think that there are cameras running and that there's a secret record being kept of this stuff. And it's so toxic that it's impacted the British government, the United States government, British royalty. It's shaking Norway to the core. The Olympic Committee itself, it's had ramifications in France, the Gulf states. You've got to wonder, how could such a sick pervert who just grew up the son of a municipal gardener and a child care worker hold such sway over people?
We'll be right back.
You know what they say, if I knew then what I know now. Just last year, when I partnered with Preserve Gold, gold wasn't even trading near $3,000 an ounce. Today, some experts are predicting that gold could reach $6,000 an ounce by the end of 2026. You can do the math. That's why I encourage you to get informed. Text Ask Phil at 50505 or visit drphilgold.com and request your free gold buying guide from Preserve Gold. That's free. My ask is this: do your homework, educate yourself, talk to people you trust, and decide whether gold is right for you. It starts with education. Text Ask Phil to 50505 or go to drphilgold.com. This was a psychopath, not just a pedophile, a psychopath of a broad nature. He worked as a teacher at one point and was fired. I mean, he couldn't even be a good teacher. He was at Bear Stearns and got dismissed for violating policies. He started his own investment entity and was accused of stealing $46 million from a client. So he had no moral compass. It wasn't that nobody knew this was a bad guy. The first complaint about him doing this kind of thing was in 1996. That's 30 years ago, right? I mean, think about it. He was convicted in 2008. We're talking about trafficking young girls there. At the time of his arrest in 2019, this last time, he had scheduled 40 young girls to be flown into his mansion. This spanned 4 administrations: Obama, Biden, Bush, Trump. And you look back at his history where he's a teacher, then he worked at this place and that place. You think it just seems like it's just kind of a run-of-the-mill. Well, they're all run-of-the-mill background kind of wallpaper until they aren't. Jeffrey Dahmer, he murdered and dismembered 17 boys and men. He kept one head in a box, just carrying it around the house, until finally his father, who I interviewed about this, said, "What do you got in the box?" And he said, "Well, nothing." And his dad said, "Well, you're going to have to show me. You're going to have to open that box tomorrow." Tomorrow? Really? I'm going to give you a warning. You're going to have to open the box tomorrow. People have to help evil do evil. So these seemingly nondescript people like Jeffrey Epstein and Jeffrey Dahmer have to be enabled. And you know, the number one need in all people is acceptance. So you wonder why seemingly intelligent people that you would think they have some moral compass in their life, wind up with Jeffrey Epstein, wind up at P. Diddy parties. Maybe they want to belong so bad that they just tell themselves, hey, this is okay. Everybody's doing it. Look at all of these famous people here. Look at all these successful people here. Maybe they are overachieving nerds and brainiacs. I don't know. But despite success at one level, that doesn't mean because they're smart enough to code a computer or to amass wealth that means they've got a moral compass. So maybe they want to be finally at the party, the event, move in the fast lane. Well, that maybe leaves their moral compass just spinning like some glassy-eyed kid at life's candy store of debauchery and temptation, and they think they're invisible and unaccountable, that they buddy up to a psychopathic rapist, master manipulator, blackmailer, and extortionist. And he love bombs them and tells them how smart they are and how great they are and how cool they are. These gullible fools that are showered with attention and stroking their egos and pulling them into this sick world by appealing to their most base instincts until he owns them. But let me tell you something. When you conspire with somebody to do bad things and you're the bigger fish, it's not if, but when you're going to get fried. It can happen in anything. You can have some contractor come to your house, they're doing something, you say, hey, how about I pay you cash for less, and that way you don't have to pay taxes, and I get a big discount, and then we're both happy. Well, you know what? You've just committed tax fraud with somebody that you're now vulnerable to. So they go down the road and maybe the IRS decides to audit their business. Then they say, well, you know what? I don't want to be audited, but I can give you a bigger fish, somebody that I worked on their house and they paid me cash to avoid income tax and sales tax and all this. How about I give you them and you let me off the hook? We don't think ahead. It's critical thinking, which makes me wonder what crimes beyond the sex trafficking, which is bad enough, did he blackmail these people? Did he extort from these people? Insider trading, preferential treatment, judges, prosecutors? When he got convicted in '08, he should have been doing life, but he got something like 18 months and served 13. And of that, a lot of it was a work from home permit. Seriously? He was able to spend 16 hours a day not in prison. What did he have on everybody? It's all this. You got to go back and think. Every judge, every prosecutor, every jailer, every sheriff. You got to look at everybody. You commit crimes that you should be doing 25 to life, and you wind up doing 13 months and 16 hours a day. You're supposed to be on house arrest, which he wasn't. He was able to go move around, they said, for exercise purposes. So he was all over town. This guy never even slowed down. And a lot of what now is being investigated was after he had been arrested and sent to jail. So people knew or could have known, but they did it anyway. So I understand the fascination with trying to analyze what made him so sick. I get that. But I have to tell you, I do have some fascination with how people could be so morally bankrupt that they were sucked into this. These are people that were looked up to. These are people that had corporations with thousands of employees. How do we spot this? What are the red flags? There's no telling what ransom, what extortion he has bled from all these people that he sucked in. I don't think we have any idea where the bottom is on all of this right now. In 2015, the FBI confirmed blackmail. In 2019, when he was arrested, like I said, he had plans to bring 40 minors to his mansion for sex. And this Ghislaine Maxwell that's in jail and won't talk, let me tell you, I got a sneaking suspicion she's not talking because she's figuring a way that she's going to get pardoned, paroled, early released, or whatever. and that what she knows is got to be, in her estimation, probably worth hundreds of millions of dollars to keep her mouth shut. So you got to figure she's going to cash in on that big time. Big time. So you just got to wonder what the currency has been in all of this. Epstein spent millions of dollars on charity, scientific causes, all of these things which seem to buy some kind of legitimacy. And people just looked the other way. My God, he was sued twice in 2008 for $50 million from minors that he had victimized. How do you not know that? He was involved with gangsters. How do you not know that? It just seems outrageous to me that people turned their heads and looked the other way. And the names that are being brought up in association with him, maybe some people didn't know about it. Maybe they were associated with him for legitimate reasons, didn't do their homework and didn't know. I guess it's a case-by-case basis. But isn't it an interesting question how morally bankrupt and corrupt some of these people had to be when they were otherwise so competent? How can you be so competent in one area and so absolutely stupid in other areas? Now, we know that he was a psychopath. What's their excuse? That's a question that I'm turning over in my head. And I gave you some of the theories, but they are theories. They damn sure aren't excuses. They're not even explanations. But it's puzzling and troubling me because there are different kinds of currency. And he certainly seemed to find currency that some of these people responded to. And once he had his hooks in them, no telling what he extracted through blackmail and extortion. I guess you just got to say, I'm going to find out who I'm hanging out with. It behooves us all to ask questions. And in this transient world, which is moving faster and faster, we need to teach our children to ask those questions. But we haven't found the bottom of this, but we will. And that's the real story. Wherever you're getting the real story, make sure you subscribe and follow.